Multi-millionaire Terence Twiggy Rathbone has bought the Daily Crucible newspaper and appointed Russell Spam as its new aggressive editor, while former editor Harry Stringer has been rehoused in the office lift. Reporter Greg Kettle, meanwhile, has discovered ex-Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev alive in Switzerland.
What would you like, Mr. Rathbone?
I think I'll have the Trattoria Marittimo.
That's the restaurant, sir.
Yes, that's what I'll have.
Very good.
Acquisitive as ever, Adrian. You know, I often think it's a good thing that the government don't find out about your little business maneuvers.
Quite so, Prime Minister.
Talking of which, Mr. Rathbone, there were some most extraordinary demonstrations going on down in the street when we came in. Something about cheap labour in your South American mines.
Propaganda, Mrs. McNamara. Left-wing crazies at work.
Yeah, well, it says here, some of your labourers are digging the mineral out of the rocks with their bare hands.
I believe in a return to Victorian values.
Well, yes, of course. It's just that, well, in a uranium mine...
Health risks are minimised, Prime Minister. Every worker is issued with his own asbestos suit.
Yes.
Anyway, you've made it into Fleet Street at last, I see.
The newspapers are the cow dung in the field of communications, Mrs. McNamara, but they have their uses.
Unpredictable beast, too. Take our bill next week on the restoration of capital punishment. Signs are it's going to be a very close thing. All it needs is a slight nudge in public opinion.
I think I catch your drift, Prime Minister. Of course, I have no control over the Daily Crucible's political views.
Oh, whatever. I have no control over any inquiry into your South American operations if it comes to that. No, I'm quite sure that your record on human rights is utterly without blemish.
Well, now, what would you like to start with, Prime Minister? A good journalist knows how to protect his story, Harry. There's some right villains in Fleet Street these days.
I still say this is madness, Russell. Everyone knows Khrushchev died in 1971.
In obscurity. What proof did the world ever have that he was really dead?
Oh, for God's sake, Russell. Why don't we say we found Trotsky and Rasputin as well? It'd make another three-column
What's the news, Rex?
Is he still alive? I've not discussed that with him. It seemed rather personal.
He does look a bit like Khrushchev, I grant you. But we've still got to prove it, Russell. We've got to have hard evidence.
We'll have the evidence, Harry. If this checks out, it won't be dynamite, it'll be thermonuclear. Get it to tell us everything about politics, the power, the passion. Born again Supremo spills sex secrets. Russia rings, back from dead red, lifts lid on loves and lust. There's never been a story like it. I'm impressed, Russell. You've certainly done your homework on this one. I've been over it with a fine-tooth scalpel, sir. Examine every square molecule of it. The man is Christian. You're looking queasy, Harry. What's the matter?
Well, these Sovietologists certainly argue a cogent case, I agree, but I can't pretend I don't have reservations.
Reservations are the condoms in the birth of new ideas, Harry. When I take over a business, I take the back seat. Right, Russell? Right, sir. Your policy of laissez-faire is a beacon of inspiration to all Fleet Street. People calling you the new Roy Thompson. I trust that man implicitly, Harry. He's young, he's new, he has a fresh view. He can smell a scoop when he sees one. Now then.
What do you say?
Green light, Russell, printed.
Just to warn you, Stan, page 7, the Iran-Iraq Peace Initiative. It's been spiked. Yeah, there's a replacement on its way. Love tug budgie and millet dope riddle. Okay, bye.
You know, I think I may have managed to convince myself, Max.
What about Khrushchev?
After all, the most distinguished experts in the country are prepared to go on the record. Maybe I've misjudged Spam. I mean, perhaps deep down, he's actually my godfathers. What are they?
Artwork sample for the hanging spread.
Hanging spread? What hanging spread?
New rush job to coincide with the Commons vote on Monday. There's the memo from Spam.
Should we reinstate the rope for rippers, or let homicidal psychopaths prowl the streets on probation? The Crucible carefully considers both sides of the issue. Who's on this, as if I didn't know?
Kettle and Bill Titler left a couple of hours ago. Greg says something about a brilliant new angle he wanted to chase up.
You haven't put young Titler onto a story with Greg Kettle? And I had such high hopes for that boy.
You got your notebook?
We've come here to talk to the relatives of a murder victim, is that right?
Not the relatives of a murder victim, no.
The friend of a murder victim?
Not exactly the friend of a murder victim, no. We have come here to talk to the murder victim.
The murder victim is dead. A dead person talk to us.
Hello? Is there anybody there?
This is Gladys Tape, Greg Kettle of Her Majesty's Press. We spoke on the phone.
Everything is ready. I'm on the second floor.
Now remember, this woman is a very big medium. We are about to enter a haven of peace and transcendental reverence.
Yes, I think the spirits are receptive, Mr. Kettle. Whom is it you wish to speak to?
I'd like to call up first Mr. Edward Daintree, who was hacked to death by the butcher of Bermondsey in London.
He is here. Mr. Daintree is with us now. Edward Daintree, there is one here who would speak with you. Will you respond? Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Daintree. Sorry to drag you down here. We're doing a background piece on the rights and wrongs of the death penalty for convicted murderers. Now, you were horribly disemboweled by one of these people. I believe at one point your head was cut off with a bread knife. Do you feel that a 10 or 15-year prison sentence is adequate for this sort of grisly crime? Uh-huh. Yes? I see. Oh, I know, yes. Would you? How do you spell it? Right. Well, thank you very much indeed then, Mr. Daintree. Was there anything you wanted to ask?
No, I think that's covered most of my points.
Well, thank you very much then, Mrs. Tape. Next, I wonder if you could get hold of a Mrs. Belle Elmore Crippen. Don't talk to me about sociologists, unquote. Said A5 murder victim Harry Langham. Small intestines were found in a ditch. Point. New par. Quotes. They know F for Freddy, dash, 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 all about anything. More to follow later. Yes, it requires a special kind of skill, the job of the reporter. Very similar to that of the nuclear physicist or the brain surgeon.
I'm surprised you never went in for brain surgery, Greg.
Many people have suggested it. Over the years. It's the hands, I suppose.
this is the mock-up for Monday's front. We leave with Khrushchev, obviously. All the background material, substantiating evidence, how the Crucible scoured the world for 6 months to find him and so on. And gradually we set the scene for the next day's issue when we start serialising his official memoirs as told to Greg Kettle.
I remember, Greg, not too dry. I want it spiced with scandal. What were the young men of the Kremlin like between the sheets? Was Brezhnev really the superstar everyone claimed? How did Kosygin feel about women with big breasts?
Right. But don't trivialise it.
And on the centre, we run the background spread on hanging time to coincide with the Commons vote later in the day.
Yes. I must say that for an article that purports to offer a fair, evenly balanced discussion on the morality of capital punishment, the headlines string the bastards up, doesn't it? We've only touched on the harmful effects so far.
What would you suggest, Harry?
I suggest we give Bill Titler a free hand for a few days. Left to himself, he might come up with something useful.
Father Teasdale. Bill Titler, Daily Crucible. I
Good.
wonder if I'm...
You can start by taking that crate into the hall.
Right.
I'm afraid everything's rather a muddle. They're closing the church down, you see. I really... Oh, don't worry. I'll get the Brownies to move it later.
Actually, I wondered if I might have a word about your late brother, Mr. Trevor Teasdale.
Trevor? Oh, yes. Sweet, charming fellow. Well, what did you want to know?
Well, I understand he was Assistant Chief Hangman of Great Britain.
I don't want to talk about that, I'm afraid.
Well,
no, I never talk about it. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Fine, point taken. Not my job to pry, I understand. A bit sensitive. So you, say you've got to pack up and move out then?
Sadly, yes. So much to do and so little... Oh, no. Not in the sun, please. It was a toilet roll.
You see, Prime Minister, the Crucible spread on hanging is pretty well sewn up for tomorrow's edition. I'd be a rogue and a rapscallion if I tried to interfere with that copy now.
Oh, absolutely, Twiggy. What the Crucible must print, the Crucible must print. Cigar.
Very good.
Oh, what's that? Some notes of mine?
It appears to be a short list for the Queen's birthday honours, Prime Minister. Lord Rathbone of Highgate, Sir Russell Spam, Harold Stringer, CBE.
Oh, how careless of me, Twiggy. This is highly confidential. Of course, none of these has actually been confirmed yet. Names can still be removed.
With all due respect, sir, I feel it morally wrong and totally indefensible that 3 honours should be bestowed on a single newspaper. Strike off Harry Stringer.
And the attendances never did pick up, so down came the episcopal decree. The church has got to close.
It's very sad, Father. Still, I suppose I'd better be off. Thanks very much for the tea and sandwiches. Bye now. Oh, sorry. There was just one small detail I wanted to check before I go about your brother. He died on March the 4th, 1973, is that right?
Quinquagesima.
Yes, that's right, because I remember actually being at home at the time with my parents, all celebrating Quinquagesima. I remember them saying on the news that the Home Secretary had just granted a pardon to Raymond Evans, the man your brother had hanged 17 years before. That was quite a coincidence, I suppose, your brother dying that very same day.
I told you I didn't want to talk about that.
Oh, no, I wouldn't want you to.
I've never said a word to anybody about it in 13 years.
Right. Well, you know what the press would do with a story like that.
And I don't want to talk about it ever again, don't you understand? How I went to his house that day and found him there, hanging from the banisters. The rope all taut and rigid round his neck. He always could tie a good knot, Trevor.
Your brother, a former hangman, hanged himself.
He couldn't bear it, you see, knowing that he'd taken an innocent man's life like that.
Well, I think you're absolutely right not to talk about it, Father. Now, when you first found him hanging there...
Change of plan, everyone. The BBC's check has bounced. The breakfast time appearance is cancelled. It's time to deal with a special live interview on ITV at 9 tonight. Okay, careful with him, boys. He's exclusive.
This is terrific, Will. Just what the spread needs to put some sanity back into it. Bill Tickler's just come back with a good one for the spread, Max. A hangman who hanged himself when he found he'd executed an innocent man.
Whole spread was moulded 10 minutes ago, Harry. Sorry.
Bugger it. Where's Spam, then?
TV studio. Live Khrushchev interview in 5 minutes.
Well, can't we run this on page 3 at all?
No, there's a piece about Princess Diana being anorexic again.
What? Dies shock slack tight, spark slim plague scare. Weight loss, health fear over royal knee wrinkle. What does this mean?
Oh, she was seen last night at the theatre, one leg of her tight, slightly baggy. Do you think she's lost weight, Annie? Look, this is her yesterday. This is her the same day last year.
Oh, who the hell gives a toss about Princess Diana's bloody tight? I'm sick to death of, oh, my God. Oh, my God.
And here on LWT in a moment, a change of program, we present a special live interview with former Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev.
Huge.
Yes, rather fat and almost completely bald. How do you spell that? Yes? Mr. Donald Kubelski. Chronic schizophrenia. And what happened after he was discharged? Did he... I see. Stay with friends in Switzerland.
Good evening. Tonight, a rare moment in history. Former Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev, ousted from power in 1964 and believed to have died in 1971, was last week found alive by a reporter working for the Daily Crucible newspaper. The Crucible's editor, Mr. Russell Spam, is with me tonight, with Mr. Khrushchev himself. Now 93 years old, but still, I understand, alert and articulate. Mr. Khrushchev, can I start by asking you, how does it feel to have been dead for 15 years? Mr. Khrushchev, did you hear my question?
Mr. Khrushchev? Mr. Khrushchev?
Well, we're going to move on now to tomorrow's debate in the Commons on capital punishment. All the polls show that the outcome is still very much in the balance. Earlier this evening, the Prime Minister told me why he believed the death sentence was an effective deterrent.
What's the verdict? Is it serious? Does this man die on live television? Now you tell me it wasn't Khrushchev at all, but some fruitcake from a loopy bin. What can I say, Mr. Rathbone? I've had enough, Russell. You're fired. I quite understand, sir. Had you going for a moment there, didn't I? What? April Fool, Russell. Excellent. excellent front page. Wait till Harry sees it. He'll be pleased as punch.
TV death blow spikes Fool's Day gag. The tragic death of a 75-year-old man on live TV last night sadly scuppered Britain's biggest ever national April Fool's Day spoof. The fun-loving Crucible had put up geriatric joker Mr. Donald Kubelski to his hoax role of Mr. Khrushchev as part of a special All Fool's Day prank. Tell Spam I want to see him here in my office immediately.
Harry, you just dropped in to say the front page is a cracker.
How you have the effrontery, Russell, to pass off this fiasco.
Oh, incidentally, I've just read this Hangman piece of young Tittler's. A first-rate job. Guilt-ridden noose boss in string-up shock. Rope chief's brother tells of heartache lynch grief. It's a story that swings hanging debates, Harry. Shame it missed the paper. Oh, the word down from the chief whip's office is that the bill should cruise through this afternoon by 7 votes.
Thanks in no small measure to our Chamber of Horrors contribution, I dare say. Well, it's not good enough, Russell.
I agree, Harry. We put on 500,000 readers, but we need more. We need a stronger image, a campaigning paper, a paper with a conscience. How's it sound for a new, long-running moral crusade? The Crucible declares war on an enemy of society, an evil, power-crazed maniac, a rabid lunatic who makes Hitler look like Paddington Bear, and only the Crucible dares to stand up to him.
Well, who is this person?
We haven't found him yet, but give it time, Harry, give it time.
Page you'll find disaster, servant killing off his master, and a story with some sordid sex appeal. Someone's secrets we have grabbed, famous bags that we have stabbed.